Well, we're less than a week out, and I need to shave. Uh, Less than a week out to the Galactic Championship, and to be honest, I still haven't locked in a deck. There's a few things to talk about today. First off, obviously, there might be a recording next week. It depends on how enthusiastic I am about SWU at the time. As of right now, I'm anticipating I'm going to be less than enthusiastic, we'll say. So, there were two main things, like general thoughts on the meta going in, and then communication were the two main topics I wanted to talk about today. And as always, if you want to hear more about this stuff, let me know down in the comments, because I have a lot of thoughts and I try to keep these short so that, it isn't a huge rambling video like I usually do. I don't like this meta. I think it is subjectively bad. Subjectively. And I think it's also objectively bad. And I've had several conversations about this recently. There were a number of people who had said, hey, this is my first card game. Like, why do you feel this way? And it felt genuine. Like, they were legitimately asking, like, why do you feel this? Because I haven't experienced these things before. And I think that's good to reach out so that people can learn, because I think there's a lot of serious stuff about fun and games. And I like talking about this stuff because I find it very interesting. But I think subjectively, I don't like it. No one really cares about my personal whinings, because like I could elaborate if people really care, but bottom line is I don't like it. And if you do like it, I'm not trying to piss in your Cheerios. It's just you're allowed to like it. And I think what's important to keep in mind is whether the meta is good, bad, or otherwise, right now, in the future, in the past, whatever, you're allowed to enjoy bad media. Put games in the media category. I don't know if it officially counts, but you're allowed to enjoy bad media and you're allowed to dislike good media. But there are criteria that can be used to judge a game in particular objectively. And in my opinion, I think this particular meta is objectively bad. There's a few different reasons for that. Notably, I think that there are too many games determined by factors outside the player's control. Either matchup, particular draws. Those sort of things are always present, but it feels exacerbated in this particular format. I think there is a homogenization that is negative and negatively impacting the meta health as a whole. And it is therefore sapping the fun from playing the game. And I think a lot of people who have spent time with this format would agree. And I think that if you disagree and you're enjoying it, again, it's fine. But I think it's important to recognize that it is possible that you are enjoying it, even if it is overall unhealthy for the game, for the meta, whatever. And I think the reality is that we will get bans in one way, shape, or form. And I think that it is possible that only Han 2 gets banned. And the reason for that is I think that Force Throw and possibly even Kiadi are verging on fair in non-Han decks because Han gets to cheat a lot of things, literally cheat things into play. And as a result, you get to break multiple fundamental rules. You can see Noodle sneaking by in the background. Hi, Noodle. You're a good boy. Where's your good boy? You're allowed to cheat multiple rules of SWU, both base level game rules as well as design rules, because things cost less, you're drawing cards more efficiently than you normally would, you're able to leverage Force Throw at effectively no cost, and therefore you get a Rival's Fall for one resource. And it drives me insane watching stream chats and people are like, I'm going to play Salvage, I'm going to play Metal Ceremony, I'm going to do these other things. So that when they Force Throw me, to be like, haha, I discard a 0 cost. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to Force Throw themselves to guarantee that they murder your guy because they drew 6 extra cards before, like, turn 5. So, get wrecked, nerd? I don't know. Is that always going to happen? No, of course not. As I said, and this kind of bleeds into the second topic, it's less about the absolutes, because in a card game, there really aren't any absolutes by definition. There will always be, and I guess that is an absolute, but you're going to have some draws that you can't win, which is bad. And I prefer games that try to minimize that. However, that means that there is technically never an unwinnable game, like going in. The individual game may be unwinnable, but it's never 100-0 because your opponent could just brick 9 turns in a row and you kill them. And then game 2, they brick 10 turns in a row and you kill them or something similar. And I think that's important when people are talking about and having these conversations, that you need to make sure you and whoever you're conversing with are on the same page. As far as, like, if I say that a matchup is unwinnable, it is by definition not unwinnable. I'm being hyperbolic, but it is expressing the point. So one of the conversations that's come up recently has been Vader yellow, as opposed to ECL Vader decks. Vader yellow into, say, Han 2. Now, I think it's really bad for Vader. I've been told by much better players than me that they explicitly played Han in set 4 to beat Vader. And it got to be a better deck in set 5, so it doesn't seem like it's a good matchup. But I've been told that it is favored for Vader. And we even saw some 1Ks yesterday where Vader was able to beat Han 2. Now, it's clearly not, I'm saying it's unwinnable, but it's obviously not, even from the perspective of, we're not even talking match percentages, we're not even talking, like, any particulars. It's just, like I said, there are some games where Han will, like, oops, they drew, their opening hand was 3 Crate Dragons and 3 Luke Skywalkers. That's an unplayable hand. You're going to die, right? And then you draw into things like the Maces, and, like, because that is an organization of your cards that if you randomly, or if you shuffle them and randomize them, it is possible that you could draw that. A lot of people will say, oh, well, that hand can't or shouldn't happen, but if that's never happened to you, that means that you're probably not properly randomizing your deck, because in a random distribution, some number of times, that will happen. It's extremely rare, but it is possible, and I think people forget about that. It's probably why the casinos do so well, because people don't understand random. It's just the way humans are. Regardless, the point is that if we're going to try and communicate things, I think another part of it that I've had struggles with in this early meta is talking to people, not even, oh, well, is this matchup good or bad, but explaining what good or bad means. So if I say a matchup is bad, bad is a very big bucket. It could be 55-45, it could be 90-10, and everything in between. Or 100-0 if you want to completely ignore everything I was just saying. As a result, it is difficult when, like, if someone says that a matchup is 60-40 in deck A's favor over deck B, you might think that that's a good matchup or a decent matchup for deck B, because you personally are willing to accept a 60-40. I mean, the definition of that would be that if you played 10 games or 10 matches, that deck A would win 6 of them and deck B would win 4 of them. That sounds less dramatic than it does if you say it's 60-40, at least to me, but maybe it doesn't to others. And that could be why people interpret it that way. Personally, I would say that is a bad matchup, and that anything at that level or worse, I would not want to be the underdog. Because, and again, defining things so that the communication is clearer, I have to assume that if all things being equal, meaning skill level, experience with the decks, the build so that you're not running something super wacky that dramatically changes, you're running roughly stock lists, that deck A beats deck B 6 out of 10 times. It's tough to elaborate on things until we're hitting a point in the meta, in the set cycle, in whatever, that everybody, like, everything about certain relationships is known, because A, there's a lot of variables. Are you even testing with good people? Is it all online? Is it all whatever? And therefore you have, you know, it garbage in, garbage out. Or are we just at odds because of the terminology we're using? And I know for me personally, I hyperbolize a lot of stuff. It's like my native tongue is to exaggerate. And it can be an issue relaying information to people until you're able to have a true conversation. And sometimes online that doesn't work. So I think that it's important for people to just keep this stuff in mind on all fronts. We'll see what happens. If I were playing tomorrow, which I'm not, I'm going to decide by tomorrow. If I were playing tomorrow, it's definitely between Kylo and Talzin. Talzin Red, Kylo ECL. I don't know. I think both of them suck. Everything sucks. If you're not on Han 2, you're hurting yourself, is my opinion. You could be Han 2 Blue or Han 2 Green. I think Blue is better in general. They're probably pretty even into each other, but I've been actively avoiding the mirrors. I would think Han 2 Blue has the edge, but I don't know. Maybe it just comes down to a die roll. Maybe it comes down to who more force throws, more Kiatis, that sort of thing. I'm not sure. But I don't want to be involved in force throw wars. I think Talzin kind of sidesteps it, but you still have the option to force throw. Kylo obviously completely sidesteps it, but Kylo trips on his own dick a lot. So does Talzin. It's just at different points in the game. I don't know. A couple days ago, I was seriously considering canceling the trip entirely because I think this meta is miserable and I don't even want to play in the main event. I don't want to play in the side events, so it's kind of like, why am I going? And the answer was, I kind of committed to people that I was going and that I do want to express this sentiment to FFG face-to-face and say, like, look, I'm here. Not only does this format suck, your prizing sucks, and you're kind of sapping the fun out of a game that was very fun at various points. There are definitely other times where it was worse or as bad, whatever. We're splitting hairs about which medieval torture is worse. So it's kind of where we stand. Like I said, we'll see if I record something just from my phone, maybe from the hotel on Sunday. We'll see. If you're traveling, be safe. Good luck, and until next time, as always, everybody, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and tune in next time for more Random's Thoughts.